Welcome to the Cooking at Home with RCA Chefs program. My name is Kimberly. I am a culinary scientist and I host the Peas on Moss podcast and manage business development for Griffith Foods. And I'm so pleased to be working with Chef Jeffrey Kuzminer on leading this program. And I'm so thankful to Chef Robert Danhai for volunteering his time and to our session sponsor, Lee Kum-Kee, for contributing so generously to this class. It's my pleasure to collaborate with research chefs in our association who have volunteered their skills to bring you this cooking class program as a fundraiser to celebrate the RCA's 25th anniversary and to help secure its financial future for the next 25 years. Thank you for participating in this class to have fun and learn something new while supporting the RCA. This is just one of the ways that we are observing the 25th anniversary and inviting you to contribute more to the RCA this year. There are several ways to participate, and I'll post a few links in the chat box for you to get information about the books, the swag, and how to contribute directly to the association. While you're getting settled into this webinar, I want to share some basic Zoom practices, not like we haven't all been spending almost the last year on Zoom. First, you'll notice that your microphones are off, and you should be starting off in the gallery view where you can see all of your classmates. This will allow Chef Robert to be the focus on the screen, and I'll toggle the speaker view screen back and forth between his cameras so we can all see what he's doing. So make sure that you're in the gallery view so that you can follow along as we're highlighting the different screens. So all that said, we invite you to actively participate in this class, whether you're cooking along or not. And when questions arise, please type them into the Q&A chat, and we'll be monitoring them during the whole session. If you're cooking along, please let us know. We would love to have you show the chef what you're doing. And we're also recording this session for you to view later, just in case you missed something. I'm really thrilled to introduce you to Chef Robert Danhai, though it seems he knows everyone. As a 30-year veteran of the food and beverage industry, Chef Robert Danhai has worked as a restaurant chef, as a chef instructor at the CIA, consulted for 10 of the Fortune 500 companies, as an award-winning Southeast Asian cookbook author and TV host of Taste Vietnam and Top Chef Vietnam Judge. Robert is also the co-creator of the Flavor 360 software platform, a suite of apps and cloud-based flavor site that form an R&D platform to collaborate with your food and beverage innovation team to save time, improve data quality, and capture their tribal knowledge into one database to make data-driven decisions and improve speed to market. Robert has been an active member of the RCA for 20 years and currently serves on the RCA Board of Directors. Again, welcome to this Cooking at Home with RCA Chefs fundraising series. I'm excited to get to showcase some of the incredible talent in our organization and to celebrate the 25th anniversary. I'll hand off now to Chef Robert to add details to his biography, share about the books and television series he's been a part of, and to start teaching us about spring rolls and the Lunar New Year. Again, thank you so much to this class's sponsor, Lee Kum-Kee, and thank you, Chef Robert, for guiding us through this course. Off to you, Chef.
Thank you so much. Well, this is such a treat for me. I taught full-time for 8 years, and it's for those of you that I work with, I'm still a teacher, and getting all my prep together in my kitchen here, which I've never showed in public actually, was just awesome, right? Because there's so many different things we can go into. So because we've got 2 recipes and they've each got several components, I'm going to start and tell stories as we go instead of doing some big introduction, if that's okay. So what we're going to start off with, everyone got the recipes, is we're going to start off with the Malaysian spring roll, because most people have never seen something like that. It's called popia. Bobia is, we did a research project. I send you the link to the video. When it started in China, it came down to Malaysia and it changed form. The wrapper changed the most, and as did the filling. So what I want to do, I've got, believe it or not, 3 cameras going. So you'll see there's this, me looking to you. There's here to the side view, you can see in my hand in here. And then there's a top down. So I figured that instead of moving the camera, it would be easier for you to see whatever you wanted when you wanted to see it. So what I'm going to start off with, I'm going to jump ahead. I got prep ready, but I want to, I've got some things I'm going to show dependent on time, right? So let's start making the filling first. And so that cooks. Then I'll show you the wrapper, show you the raw fillings, and then we'll assemble them, because I haven't made a bunch ahead of time. I haven't made any filling ahead of time. So I'm with you. I didn't want to get too much of a head start. So if you have questions as you're going, please put it into the chat. I can see that. And yeah, 3 screens, toggle view, I'll let you guys deal with that. So I'm going to start right here. And yes, thank you to Lee Kum Kee. Lee Kum Kee, as some of you know, is actually my first involvement in the RCA was hosting a regional conference 20 years ago when I got into R&D here. And I called Lee Kum Kee up. I knew of their products. I'd used them for years. But I said, hey, I want to host something for the RCA. Are you interested? They said yes. And the relationship was formed. And 15 years ago, they were my first client and still a primary research partner. So super excited. So I've got 2 pans here. First one I'm going to start with is a large saute pan. It doesn't need to be this big, but I figured it would evaporate the excess moisture quicker. So in here, you have the recipe there. We're going to start off with a little bit of fat. I'm not measuring too many of the things here. And then I'm going to put in my garlic. Now notice the quantity of garlic. It's about 5 cloves or so, but also at the same time, I'll pull it off for a sec. It's already preheated. I'm adding ground bean sauce. So you can see that right here. Ground bean sauce. And how much does it say? I think it says 2 tablespoons. I'll put that in. I'm actually going to follow that as somewhat. So ground bean sauce is what traditionally was left over after fermenting soy sauce. Think about it. You inoculate beans, you let them start to break down, then you cover them with water, salt water, and you let them ferment for 6 months or so. So when you do that, though, imagine all the beans that are left over. That's what they make this with. Now, nowadays, they make some. We actually have people in China this week getting videos of people making this from scratch that I'm going to share with the folks that were part of this fermentation sauce research project. So what we're doing is the ground bean sauce is fermented beans, similar to a miso, but the Chinese version, because most people know miso. So in here, I have my oil, my garlic, and the ground bean sauce. And I want to cook this. Ground bean sauce is a primary seasoning and sodium driver in here. I'll keep it low, and we want to cook that for a few moments. Minced garlic, oil, ground bean sauce. It's a traditional base also for different stews. Now, let me get this cooking and then I'll tell you some more backstory. But I'm watching this and I'm smelling because I want it to soften the garlic flavor, but I don't need it to go too long because I'm going to cook this for like 20 minutes or so. And also, I don't want to brown it. So once I smell the garlic soften a bit, it cooks for a couple of minutes. Then what I'm going to do is add my pork to it. The pork is in strips, as you can see, right? You can see those little strips. I used a pork leg, so the pork goes in there. So we'll take that and keep mixing. I'll turn up the heat a bit, and we'll cook that for a moment. Now, as a chef, one thing, why am I looking there when I should be looking up here? As a chef, I look at traditional recipes, and sometimes I want to improve them. Being a more traditionally trained chef, not a home cook, and saying, hey, why is this pork added at the beginning? It's small strips, it's going to overcook. Yes, it's going to be cooked a lot. That's how it is made traditionally. If you want to add it more towards the end, you can. So at this point, oh, wow, I can see my 3 videos. Oh, that's awesome. Well done on that. Oh, you guys, fantastic. So cook this till basically we move most of the raw appearance to it is what I'm looking for. And then for my jicama, I have some pre-cut. I'll add some in and then I'll show you what we're going to do. So now you'll see that the color has changed. I don't see raw pork. All I smell is delicious roasted soybean that's been roasting here, the garlic, and I add my jicama. Now the jicama, someone asked for how fine should it be? You can see that it's, let's say deliberately random. I like to say something, it's not perfect. So we'll mix this up, right? You can just use your spatula if you want. I'm gonna lower the heat a touch because I wanna demo how I cut this. Now, you can use a mandolin, right? One of these. I would open it to its full opening, make sure this is pushed on, right? And then take this, and you can see this from the side view. Yep, I could take this and cut it like that. But sometimes it breaks up. So what I might do in that case is get rid of that, just like in TV. And then I would slice this as such. Notice I'm not being too careful. In Malaysia, my mother-in-law, who taught me this is one of my first recipes, was not cautious or careful of how it was sliced. So I'm going to follow that. Get rid of this paper. Okay, so then I'll stack it up and I'll do kind of the Asian julienne where I just shingle it. I don't need to stack them up like old style French. And then take my knife and just cut across. I'll make these, they're going to be added to this. I'm just going to use it all. You'll notice it says that it's a pound of jicama. One thing you might want to note, that's about 4 cups. And if there's a big piece, that's for the chef's nibbles. So that goes back in the pan. Okay, so at this stage, we've got the cooked garlic. We've got the bean sauce. We've got the jicama. And what's going to happen? Think about it. When has anyone, and I want to see you put it in there, has anyone seen jicama cooked before? And what have you seen jicama cooked in? Because when I saw this in Malaysia the first time 30 years ago, I'm like, jicama in a stir fry? Like, or in a, something that is stir fried? Now notice, immediately now, I've got even color on here from the ground bean sauce. I'm going to darken it a little bit more. A lot of it is for flavor and color, and that's why I'm using dark soy sauce. Dark soy sauce is fermented the same as regular soy, but then what happens is they add a little bit of caramel to it. And so let's put a little splash in there. And sugar, yes, sugar. When my mother-in-law comes to town, I buy sugar and oil. And I'm not exaggerating. Lots of sugar and oil and a pinch of salt. Even though we've got soy, salt's an okay thing. So I want to open it up if anyone has any questions. Okay, more familiar. There you see Jerry. But Jerry, have you seen it cooked? Yeah, because I've never seen jicama cooked outside of Malaysia, ever. Yeah, usually raw, right?
I saw it fried one time, and it kind of took on that starchy texture, the way that a twice fried potato French fry would. Is that something you expect?
Yeah, you know what's kind of interesting? Well, I find it retains a little bit more crispness to it, and even when it cooks down, it's going to be crisp. And you notice in the recipe, it's going to now, and that's why I wanted to get this started. We're going to cook this. First thing it's going to do is exude some of that moisture. Then we're going to keep cooking it till it evaporates, concentrates, so we have a soft filling. We want these flexible. We're not looking for something too crunchy, although there'll be some texture in there. So you can see here, right on this side, you see the moisture coming out over here? So that's good. So now, that is our filling. There's really not much more we need to do except for add some shrimp at the end. Now, of course, because of the rich umami, protein-based loveliness of that ground bean sauce, you don't have to add meat to it. But pork is common because it's a Nonya spring roll. Not Malay, who they don't eat pork. Chinese one sometimes has pork. And we're also, because it is a Chinese Malay style, Nonya being half Chinese, half Malay, is we're also going to add some shrimp. Now, this is one place I just drew the line. I'm not adding the shrimp at the beginning because it's going to be hard. So I'm waiting, and I've diced this shrimp just into, I don't know, like 1/4 inch dice, something like that. You can see that there. And so this will cook for a little while we get into the other items. And that's it. See the moisture coming out? Check it out. Again, could be a more narrow pan. And I'll save the ground bean sauce, and I'll save the soy just in case I want to season that more. So that was kind of a...
Your heat's still going, Chef?
Yes, my heat is still going. It's on like... Heat's still on, about medium heat. And notice I'm just keeping stirring it, bringing it to the center so it cooks evenly on my beautiful cassette burner here, as so said. Any other questions? It looks like I'll listen for you, Kimberly, if there's other questions. So we'll keep cooking this down, and that's that.
Sounds
good. We good?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so other stuff that we need. So we have a cooked filling, we have a raw filling, and we have a sauce. And then we have the wrapper, of course. So let's do the wrapper. Let's make a couple wrappers, then we'll do the fillings, and we'll go from there. I'm going to move over to my right saute pan, which is like a 12-inch or so. You can make them smaller. You can make them bigger. I'm going to go with a medium heat. Now, one thing I asked you if you were cooking to do ahead was the wrapper. Now, if you've ever made crepes, as the French would say, not crepe, you would... Well, yeah, this is kind of like a crepe. Well, yes, it's just water instead of milk. And so that batter, bring it here so you can see it, right? it has a little bit of texture to it, meaning, let me pour this here so you can see it. Check this out. Notice how it's got some viscosity to it, but it's thin enough to pour and spread evenly. I did ask to make it a head just because it's best, as a lot of you know, is so the starches hydrate a little bit and it sits in there for a little while before you make it. I find it makes a stronger, more resilient wrapper. Here again, take a look at this filling. You can see the jicama starting to get softer and fold on itself. I'll keep stirring it so it's even. And what I like to do at this stage, I'll grab the larger piece that Robert cut just not nicely and see how it tastes. Now you want it seasoned, but you don't want it salty because we're going to have some other layers of flavor on here. So in my pan here, I've got my pan on a medium heat. I've got my batter ready, which is all it is we took flour, water, egg, and salt. I whisked it. If you're making a large batch, throw it all in a blender and blend it. But what I do recommend to have less lumps is to start with the water, the egg, mix that up, add your flour, then mix that in. And then we have our batter. So the pan is preheating. The fat, you can, use just a touch of oil, put it in there, and then wipe it, if that's kind of your method. Or if you'd like, of course, you could use one of the spray oils for it if that makes more sense for you. So how do you know when it's hot enough? Well, you can take a little bit of the batter and flick it in there, and it should get firm pretty instantly. And I heard it sizzle. So that's one indication. I'll wipe that out. And there is a touch of oil in the batter, so you don't need a lot of oil in the pan. It's just coated. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, it takes about 4 ounces, I found, which is 2 ladles. So I'll bring this over here being right in front of it. I'll pick it up, bring it over, or bring it over here and put 1, 2, and then rotate it. And notice I keep shaking it and rotating it and shaking it and rotating it to get somewhat of an even edge. Even coating. That's it. I mean, there's really not much to it. And I'll leave it on there. Now, for how long, perhaps, is your question, is a minute or 2. Someone can time it, but it depends on how hot it is. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for it to be completely cooked. And you can see around the edges here, the edges are even thinner. They're going to start to lift up like this. And when they lift up from the edge, they're about ready. You can have some color. You can see a couple I made ahead of time. Same batter. Here's one that's colored. This one doesn't have much. And so here, if you look in the pan, see how it's starting to lift up right on the edge here? Now, how would you get it out of there? There's a couple ways. One, you can use a spatula, right, and grab it. Or you can just pick it up with your hands, depending if you have chef hands, so to speak. So let's give this one stir. There we go. So what I'll do is on the edge, now that it's like this, I'll just lift it up. And that's it. I mean, that's really all you need. Oh, that looks beautiful. See that steam coming out? So let's do that one more time. Oh, that was money. So
Chef,
a bit
please.
more oil. What's that?
While you're demoing, the question was to confirm the size of the ladle. Was that a 2-ounce ladle for a 4-ounce dose?
Correct. It's 2 ounces. Yes. And you could, of course, use 1 4-ounce ladle. But I had this dirty and I've made enough dishes already. So that goes in. I'll keep cooking it. And then we have, you can see I have them stacked. They will not stick, believe it or not. And that's it. So those are our spring roll wrappers. Now, traditionally, I started to say Bo Bia is a spring roll. Now, Chinese New Year is coming. So Gong Xi Fat Choi, Happy New Year, the Lunar New Year, sometimes called the Chinese New Year. And for the Lunar New Year, one thing that's traditionally served is spring rolls. Now, why spring rolls? Spring rolls have a shape similar to gold bars. That's a representation. And so when you eat them, it's a sign of prosperity. So spring roll, because they're served in spring, which is when the Lunar New Year is. That's the big story behind it. Let's do this. Notice here, my second one's ready. Now, another option to get it out of here, if you're concerned of lifting up with your fingers, is grab it with a spatula, right, and lift it up. Or what I'll do sometimes, just take the whole thing and just go and throw it on the plate. It's not fancy, but it works. Actually, that worked probably better than me lifting it up, to be honest. So I'll take, well, you know, So I'll put one more, I'll make one more, then I have enough, and we'll get into the rest of the filling. I hope I'm not going too fast. You all know how to reach me. So if you have more questions or want to get into more details or ask some questions at the end, you can. So I'm going to make that my last wrapper. You can see the keys to this is 1, mix it well, let it rest for an hour. 2, don't bother straining. If there's some bumps, I don't care. 3, I know for those of you that know me well, this is not my typical cooking. It has to be all the same. And after it cooks, the indication of quality and it's ready to come out is that the edges dry out. I can lift it out. And as you saw, I tossed it. And then what I have here, I mean, look at these wrappers. I'll flip it over. What's unique about this one is notice it's got some elasticity to it, right? It's got some, so it'll hold the wrapper together without ripping, hold the filling together, excuse me. So I was talking about the spring roll representing for Chinese New Year. Now, there we go. Losing my train of thought here. Check it out, folks. So now, notice the difference. Look closely. Notice how, when I push it, you see how the jicama is all bent in there? That's indicating that it's, since they're curved, that they're cooked. So I'll cook this a little bit more. And that's essentially it for the filling. It's just delicious as it is. And then we'll get all the other prep together. Last wrapper comes out. And yeah, it'll zoom like that and off. Done. Okay. Now, you can make these in the morning, let them sit for some hours, even make them the night before and put them in the fridge. They're okay. But you know, a few hours at room temperature. If you leave them out, that's okay, but cover them. If you don't cover them, they're going to dry out on the edges. Okay, so let's get into the remaining things, and then we'll roll a couple of these up. Sauce. Now, in Malaysia, they have something called tim chiang. Tim chiang means sweet sauce. It's similar to a soy sauce from the northern part of China, but you don't buy that in the US because you can't. I've literally never seen it. So I had to come up with a way to do this. And yes, Lee Kum Kee is the sponsor, thank you. But this is what I've always used. It was what was in my book and everything. It's really simple. The way to emulate this, to make this sauce, is I take 1 part hoisin sauce, right? And again, hey, check this out. Most people don't realize this. Original hoisin sauce, they took the soybeans left over from the soy sauce, because after they strained it, they took that soybean puree and they added into here. So when you see soybean paste in hoisin, it's that type of soybean. That's originally what it was. Okay, so I put 1 part of that, and then I put 1 part, of, oh, that's not good. 1 part of plum sauce, there we go. And I'm estimating really good plum sauce. It has ginger. It's made from salted plums. It's not just sugar water. So you want to make sure you use a good quality plum sauce. And you could put some chili sauce, or you could put some minced chilies. I'm not going to make it too spicy. I'll put a little bit in there. So what we have to make the sauce are these 3 ingredients mixed up. And that emulates what tim chiang is, which is a sticky, sweet, salty sauce. That's it. Okay, so we have that done. Let's move on to the next thing. Are there any questions that we have, Kimberly, coming up here?
Nothing popped in. I was speculating that hoisin could sort of be an original upcycled ingredient in some senses.
Wow, that's quite profound. Yes, it is. Why would you throw that out? So now at this point, you can notice how the moisture's gone from the bottom of the pan, right? And so it's ready. It's time to add the shrimp. Now, this is way more shrimp than they would add in Malaysia. Now that I'm looking at it, it's just not. But it's luxury. It's the new year. So I'm going to add these into here, mix them up. And I know we have another class next year, actually by a fellow Malaysian. There's Chef Tom Griffiths and his wife, Junie Lai, who actually I met when I was working over in Malaysia. And so we have another Malaysian cooking next month. I just realized that. How cool is that? So now my shrimp go in. I'm going to cook this till the shrimp is cooked and get all the other components ready. Other components ready. Ta-da. Okay. I'm going to waste your time. So what do we have to make the roll? What we have is lettuce, right? Just green leaf lettuce, cilantro, which can be chopped or whole leaves, chopped spring onion or green onion, just sliced thinly, and then some fried shallots. I gave you the recipe for the fried shallots, but these ones are bought, frankly. There's nothing wrong with that. And when I'm in Malaysia, when I used to go every few months, there's this one vendor in Malacca by my house at the market that takes coconut oil. They make coconut milk. Then they take the leftover, they take the oil, and they cook fried shallots in coconut oil. Oh my goodness, it's so good. Okay, the shrimp is getting closer. How do we know when the shrimp's cooked? When it turns opaque through. And what I've done today, folks, just to move this on quicker, is you just let this come to room temperature. As any R&D chef would know how to quickly move something through the process. So I got an ice bath. I'm going to throw this on there just to get the heat out of it, because you want to roll it up hot. I want to roll it up warm or just room temperature. So here we go. Shrimp are almost cooked. So we have these fillings. We have our sauce, and we have our wrapper. And then let's take, there we go. I'm going to take some of this and cool it. I don't need all of it, just to make a couple for you. Put this over on my table over here. Okay, I think I can move this one out of the way, that burner. And we'll get all of our stuff lined up to make these. How awesome is this? And so, Chinese New Year. Jeff asked me a question. Jeff said, hey, Robert, what do they drink during the Chinese New Year? What's a traditional drink? And so to me, when we have Chinese New Year, it's an open house thing. First day, your family comes by. Second day, it's immediate friends. Third day, you go visit. And you've got this rotation system where you go visit all your friends and family. So when you host people, they always bring something. Oranges that represent, right, prosperity as well, like these beautiful round oranges, all sorts of things. But the other thing that they do is the guys drink whiskey. And so Jeff said, you should probably have a toast. And when he said, go get your whiskey, I obliged, because it's 5 o'clock where most of you are. So a little bit of whiskey and a toast to you, because it's one of the traditional drinks. Yum. Okay. Any questions at this point? We're good, waiting for workshop. Thank you. So let's talk about how to put this together. Now, with this roll, right, you can see how thin it is from the side view and what it looks like, and again, that it's stretchy. Now, what side do you put down? Do you put the side that is white or the side that has some texture? To me, this side that has texture and possibly some color is more beautiful. So I'm going to put that facing down in my clean work surface. Then get this cooled down a touch. Okay, and can everyone see that where I am? Yeah, you can see that right on. So now what I'm going to do is the first thing is take some of my sauce. I'll put, I don't know, 2 teaspoons and spread that out. So this is my Tim Chiang, or in this case, hoisin plum sauce. Right, hoisin just tastes good as it is. And what I like about the chili garlic sauce that I use for it, you can see how there's the particulates. You see it in there. Then what I'll do is I'll take some of my green leaf lettuce, which has been washed, no vein in it. I don't want to break it. And I'll put a little bit right in the middle here. Boom, towards the bottom. Then what I'll do is I'll take some cucumber. And if I have time, I'll show you how I julienne this on the mandolin or with your knife. So I'll just put maybe 4, 5, 6 slices. Now, please remember this. More is not better. With both of these, more in spring rolls usually brings you to failure, breaking, and possibly tears. And if it does break, I throw it in a bowl and just eat it, because it still tastes good. So we've got that there. Now, okay, this is just warm and not freezing. I'll take a little bit of this filling and put it primarily on top of there. So that goes like this. Now you can see what I'm doing, and I'm taking my fingers, because I can serve it to myself. I don't need gloves. I'll push this like this to line it up. Then I will put a couple of the spring onions or green onion in there, scallion. I'm going to throw a couple of the cilantro leaves, and then some of the fried shallots. So what we have, yum, right? So how do you roll it up? What I like to do is I take the back side of it here, bring it up, and then pull. Now, so it's taut. So I'm actually using that elasticity that I said was really important. Pull and give it just so it's like that. Notice now I've secured that. I lift over this top and it comes down. I lift this. Now, this is a really important technique, folks. What you want to notice is that these are straight. They're not facing outward. If I face them outward, they're going to stick out. So I want these to go straight or inward. And then I roll. And again, I'm pulling it to make it a little taut. And I roll it up. And so you've got, right, that. So you can see the ends are kind of neat. So that's one. Let me make one without narrating the whole thing so you can see it one more time. So down it goes. Robert not talking, really. For my friends on the call, you know that's entirely impossible.
I didn't have any background music for it anyway. So.
Okay, so that goes on. I'll put a little bit more of the salad because we're running out of time. I can put the cucumber. I'll put some of the delicious filling in here. Boom, boom, boom. Put some of the scallion, cilantro, and of course, I mean, do what you want. There's other things you can put in here. This is one version. I sent you a link to a video that shows 3 different versions, national versions in Malaysia. So this comes down, I pull back, I flip over, and I roll. And there we go. So
I'm tempted
they're often
to have you
just
do
served.
a time version.
Yeah.
Just kidding, I won't.
I'll take my knife, right? And usually it's served whole, frankly. They're not cut, or if they are cut, it's not, usually it's probably an overstatement. Sometimes they're whole, sometimes they're cut. If they are cut, they're going to be cut. These ones probably in 3. So long, notice my knife going back and forth, right? Long slices. Don't just do that. You want to slice it. Clean that off. And so what we have, ooh la la. So here you can see we've got the filling, we've got everything that's visual, delicious, and that is popiah Malaysian spring roll.
Oh, I'm so jealous. We had a couple of ingredient questions come in while you were rolling your second one. So when you're back, Chef, I'll throw the questions at you.
I can talk.
Okay. First question. Oops, I lost it. It was a question about adding raw jicama to the roll, or would that kind of lose the authenticity of the roll components itself, or the?
If you did that, I'd call it yin yang spring roll. Half right, some that's firm, some that's not. It wouldn't be authentic, but that's okay. Would it be delicious? I think it would be nice to have a couple strips of jicama in there. I think it's a good idea, actually. I think it's a good plus up. Why not?
Yeah, nice texture. The other question was, is there a difference between green onions and scallions?
Not in this country, but yes. Generally, they're referred to, green onions are, well, actually, no. Scallions and green onions are the same. Spring onion is a different story altogether, right? And spring onion, there's what the pot I wanted. Oh, Jesus. So green onion, scallion, same. Spring onion is actually a different thing.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to move on to the next recipe, which is the salad rolls. I'm going to make the sauces first, then wrap it up. And if we have time, I actually have a rice steamer going in the back here to show you how to make fresh rice noodles and then dry them, but I doubt that's going to happen. Let's see where we're at. Let's make our sauce. And I just pulled these from the garden. We've got like 60 of them. If you buy some wherever you are, take it. You can do this, stick it in water, roots will come out in a week, put it in the ground a foot from each other, and you'll have lemongrass. It's really that simple. So what I'm gonna do is trim off the bottom, trim off this part. So I'm only gonna use about that, right? That being that bottom 6 inches or so. Then what I'll do, after I wipe my knife down here, is I'm going to cut, this is the Vietnamese peanut sauce. Probably should have said something. I will cut this lengthwise as such. Now it exposes that. What I like to do, and this is a Robertism, is I cut off that because I don't think it's good, but I cut out the center of onions too because I think they taste like sulfur. So then I'll take this and I'll cut those into strips lengthwise as such, right? Doesn't need to be perfect, but lengthwise into strips like this. Notice how they're, I wouldn't say consistent, but they're all fine. Then I stack those up, keep them organized. I turn them, make sure my knife is clean. And then I take that and I cut against that grain to do this. So cut in half, pull out the core, cut it into strips, and then mince it. Make sure you cut fine the first time so you don't have to cut through it a bunch of times. And what I mean by that is, of course, if it's not perfect, there's going to be some random pieces in there. So what I'll do at that is I'll take my knife, just go through it a couple times as such. Oh, that smells so good. It literally came out of the garden an hour ago. Then simultaneously, I'm going to start making my sauce over here. It's a really simple sauce to make. So I'll even follow the recipe. So I've got my small pan here. I would use a saucepan, but I didn't grab it and it's in the other kitchen. So I'm just going to keep going with this sautoir, so to speak. Inside there, the first thing that we're going to put in is the garlic. Can everyone see that, right? I think it's doable from the top. That goes in. Let's grab one of the endless. Yeah, I have a couple utensils back there. People think I'm nuts to have like 20 rubber spatulas, but I'm using half of them in this one class. So garlic goes in. We want to cook that for a moment. Now, it does talk about using a chili, but I have the chili garlic sauce that I already used. So instead of taking the time to mince it, I'm not going to bother. So I cook my garlic for a moment. Oh, that smells great. This doesn't cook a long time, so you want to make sure the garlic is fully cooked. Notice I have ample amount of oil. Now, with this spring roll, there's two types of sauces that are served, and it's really not a spring roll because there's no spring in Vietnam. But in the weather, that's kind of a joke, sort of. So the garlic's in there because it's always hot. Then I put hoisin sauce. Hoisin, I didn't even think about how much of a feature it is of this class. It's in both recipes. You're going to see a lot of similarity. So in goes the hoisin sauce. Then there's going to be the shallots that are going into it, minced shallots. Then there is the minced lemongrass, right? There we go. I'm adding a little bit of water because I want to give it something to cook, right? So I'll just add a splash of water. Okay. And let's give this a mix. So now what's kind of unique about this recipe, right, is it also has a little bit of coconut milk. But notice what I've done with this recipe. This is, typical, somewhat traditional. Traditionally, also spill it on the side. You got to do that for it to be the authentic way of doing it. But what I like to do is add my coconut milk at the end. Now, there's also some roasted peanuts in here. Now, do I have a lesson for you with peanuts? In goes my chili sauce. How you roast the peanuts is actually very, very, very important. Although, don't worry, your peanut butter is fine, my friend, that we talked about last night. To roast peanuts in there, what they usually do, be careful, it's going to fall off, is they roast them slow in a pan. And so when you roast them in a pan so they're nice and slow, what you're going to get is this uneven color to it. Now, take a close look at that. Right? They're deliberately burnt in some areas, are very dark and not in others. And what I'll do for this is I'm just going to put it in a mortar because it's quicker than chopping it. Smash that up. I find that's much faster. And so some of the peanuts go in here. You'd add some peanut butter, that would be okay. I have some extra, but what you want to do is save a little bit to garnish the sauce with. So cook this for a couple minutes. We'll add in our coconut milk, and you've got a delicious dipping sauce that could be used for stir fry, it could be used for satay, it could be used for grilled chicken. I mean, whatever. It's hoisin peanut sauce. And at the end is when we will add our coconut milk, and I have that ready. I like Choco as one of the better brands, but that's that. Also, I wanted to show you, I don't have time to go through each one of them. You can oven roast peanuts, deep fry peanuts, or go with them raw. But pan roasted is how it's traditionally done in Southeast Asia. And if you have the skin on, roast them, rub them, and blow off the skin. But I bought them already peeled like that. But if you use ones that have the skin on it, that would be okay as well. Okay, Kimberly, any questions as we're going through this?
Yes, we're getting some feedback on the rolls that you just accomplished. A couple of tears in the rolls for some of the folks, and they wondered if they should have added more batter or if it's just getting used to rolling rolls.
It's getting used to rolling, I think, is a lot of it. But you can, of course, add a little bit more batter, make it thicker. You're not trying to go for something paper thin. That's not the purpose of it in this case. So don't feel like you have to go super thin with it. Okay?
Thanks, Chef.
Next sauce, of course, garlic dipping sauce, Nook Cham, the foundational sauce in a lot of Vietnamese food. Served on the side traditionally, it's generally not cooked with. And so I wanted to truncate this again because of our time. How are we doing on time? Oh my goodness, I have 15 minutes. Can you believe that? So for this, I've got my lime juice. And now to juice a lime, best way by far is to take a lime, roll it. Then I think a fork, there's no better way. Pick it up like this, and then take this, and you can see from the side view, and squeeze and turn. And just do that. You're going to get more juice than any other way of doing limes. Do that like this. And then I like inside here, the pulp that's in there. So I would not get rid of that. I'm adding a little bit of garlic. My carrots, what I did, carrots, I use a grater, a microplane like this, really fine. The carrots go in. We have our fish sauce. Oh my goodness, there's somebody making fish sauce in San Francisco called Nectar of the Sea. It's super delicious. And they use Cargill salt and sardines from Monterey to make fish sauce in America. It's really premium and it's super delicious. So I'm just going to use that. But you can use something like Mega Chef or Red Boat or what have you. I can mince some chilies. These came from my garden as well. But I don't have time for that. So I'm going to take a little bit of the chili garlic sauce and put a little bit of that in there because it's got garlic and it's got chilies, and I'm done. So that goes in, and a little bit of sugar. Need my sugars right here. So what you have here is you're making this mixture, and it should be light and thin. The carrot, what's unique about the carrot is it helps hold stuff onto the rolls themselves, right? So here, check it out. There we go. So we've got a really simple sauce. What you want to do, though, of course, is taste it and adjust. And for adjustment, let's see. Oh, wow. It needs a bit of water. There we go. The lime. What's unique about when you squeeze the lime like that, you get a lot of the lime oil as well. So you get the oil from your hands. It has a delicious lime flavor to it. So that's my roll there. I'm going to move this out of the way without dropping fish sauce on the ground. That would be a bad thing. And move with the next prep. So that's one sauce. Here's our second sauce. I'm going to bring this back up to a boil. The burner came off. Add my coconut milk, and that's it. Any other questions? Tasting spoons. Yes, of course I have. It's my test kitchen. This is where I do all my R&D. I've got cases of this. And of course my mise en place cups, I buy them by 500 each. Okay, so let's get all of our stuff to make these rolls. And as part of the rolls, you need rice paper. So as I was getting ready for this class, I realized, oh my goodness, I had 13, if not 15, different rice papers already stocked in my kitchen, which is kind of ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. And they're from like 3 different countries. It's just Robert being Robert, because I think it would be delicious. So what I need, my last thing is my coconut milk here, right? So remember, folks, hoisin sauce, coconut milk goes in at the very end. Why is that? Because then I have that delicious, it retains the coconutty yumminess as opposed to being boiled. So the heat is off, it gets stirred in, and there we go. That is the hoisin sauce as such. Good deal? That goes down. So for the rice paper, which one do you want to use? You don't need the chili one. You don't need the one with the black sesame. You don't need the big one. You don't need the triangle one. This is the one that most people are going to use. But they also make square ones for frying, but don't confuse it with the thick tapioca rice ones. You want to look on here, and most of them have rice and tapioca. The reason, I was doing a project some years ago, and I went and looked at a bunch of these. The reason it has tapioca is more for processing. And what I mean by that is actually for when they're making them so they're elastic and they come off easier. I mean, that's really the main reason. And I'll have all my other prep here ready. So let me show you what I got. Okay.
Chef, please. What are you said processing for the thick tapioca ones. What's the kind of finished goods version of that? Or application?
What you do is you take the big thick tapioca one and you toast it, and it gets crispy, and you eat it with bunbo whey and other noodle dishes like that. You crack it on top noodle dishes. Yeah, they're really tasty. But they're thick and you wouldn't wrap something up in them. So what I have here is my table salad. And so I've got lettuce, I've got my cilantro, my cucumber cut, some beautiful mint. There wasn't any perilla at the market, so we're using regular mint, and the garlic chives as such, the flat ones. If you have green onion, that would be okay. I've also got my rice noodles cooked. Now, notice how they're really sticky as such, right? So what you can do if they're sticking a bit is if you just put a splash of water, I mean, just a teeny bit of water, then they loosen up very quickly, right? Also, what I suggest to roll these is I take scissors and give it a couple cuts so they're easier to lift out so you don't have this long noodle. So yeah, I cut it a couple times so you have that. I don't know if that's in the recipe, but it's one of those things why you took the class, right? So it's not just in the recipe. Then we also have bean sprouts. For the bean sprouts, what they typically do, what my mother-in-law taught me to do, is take a bean sprout, and I'm not kidding you, one by one, break off the brown part until you have all these. So they look beautiful like that. So you can do what you want. Most people don't bother. So I have the bean sprout. And by the way, I think there's bean sprouts listed in the Malaysian recipe, but I didn't put them in there because I forgot. So here, I've got my rice vermicelli, sometimes called rice sticks. I soaked these in water till they were tender, and then I boiled them for literally a half of a minute to get them like this. That's all you need to do. So all my prep is here. I've also got a couple shrimp. Let me grab those from my fridge. It's the one thing I'm keeping in the fridge. I cooked them with the shell on. I'm listening. Questions? We've got shrimp, which were cooked whole. Then I peel them, cut them in half, and for time I'm going to expedite this, and then I cut them in halves like this, right? So I've got half shrimp, not full ones. That's typically what's done. And I also got a piece of pork where I just took a pork leg, cut it into one big block, and poached it, and I have those strips. So that's all my stuff. Now what I need, the last thing, is my water. Now, one thing people really get wrong with this, and what I mean by wrong is they typically use way too hot of water and leave it in the water too long. In Vietnam, sorry for the water sound, folks, I'm getting a little bit of tepid water. Let me show you what you're looking for. And this is probably one of the biggest takeaways for the class, I have to say, is how to work with this rice paper. Now, the rice paper, notice the pattern on there. That pattern is because they'll make a fresh rice noodle, then they stick it to this and let it dry. I had my wife make this for me so I could use to demo it in classes, and we'll see if we get to it. Probably not, unless people want to stay on, or I don't know how we do that. So what we're going to do is make the rolls. So we've got the rice paper. I have some water, which is maybe 90, something like that, just barely warm. Now, you don't do what most people do, sit them in there. In Vietnam, and I kid you not, never have I seen someone dip them in water. Not saying they don't. I haven't seen it. What they usually do is take wet hands and do this. You just rub them, or you put them between towels. You do not dip them in liquid. Now, what that yields is a very tough, hard kind of thing. That's how they're eaten often. Plus, remember, it's 80% moist humidity there, so they stay soft. But what you're going to do, because people don't like eating it like that, by the way, and I have a video online, you can see, you roll up a spring roll with wrapper like this, you grill it, it puffs up. A grilled spring roll is super awesome. But what I want to show you is what you're going to do. So I'll take this, I'll put it in here, and how long do you leave it in the water? You leave it in the water until, notice how it folds. It creases, like there's a hard edge to it. You want it to soften up a touch, but now see that? Now notice it's still firm. Then put it on your work surface. Do not hydrate it in the water. That is a key. So again, take the rice paper, barely warm water, put it in until it no longer creases on itself. Do that, let it sit, right? So almost, see how that's in the water? Now it's soft, but still has some rigidity to it. I shake off the excess water and it comes down. Now the key is it's going to finish hydrating on the table. That's the key. Finish hydrating out of the water. Okay, any questions on that? I'm going to keep going. So what I'm going to do here is I'll take a little bit of lettuce, put it in the bottom third, just a little swatch. Again, go light, go light, go light. Trust me on this. Then what we'll do is we'll start to put the other ingredients. A little bit of the noodles. And can you see that from the angle? Yeah, it's good, right on. So that goes there. I'll put a couple of the bean sprouts. Just a couple. This is like the deluxe version. You don't need to put everything inside it. I'll put a few of the mint leaves, right? A couple big mint leaves in there because they're delicious. Fine. Then a few of the cucumber, as such. Cilantro, same thing. Boom, boom. Now, what's going to get interesting here is with the shrimp and a couple of the pork. I'll just put one like this, one like this. I haven't made these for probably 2 years. Honestly, I haven't rolled one of these forever. To me, that's a long time. So that goes down, that, and I think that's everything. Oh, now check this out. Most people intuitively would say, I'm going to put this and stick it inside like this. No. In Vietnam, typically, it's actually left out of the wrapper, and I'll show you what I mean by that. You can put one in, and I'll do one that's not in. Steamer here. Then what I'll do is I'll take my shrimp, and this is important. You've seen this, but you haven't done it. Shrimp go up here. Notice where I'm putting the shrimp. I'm not putting them with everything else. I'm putting everything in the middle as such, like that. But notice how I'm taking the colorful part of the shrimp and putting it down. So you can see now I've got this component here. I've got the shrimp up here. And so what I'm going to do at this stage is I'll show you the first one. So I'll take this, I'll roll it as such, get it like here. Notice the shrimp is still on the outside. Then again, this comes over. This comes, oops, stick. This comes over. And then and this I want taut. So I'll pull, aha. So when you do that, now you see the shrimp, right? That's the whole thing, is putting the shrimp second so you can see them there. I could probably space it out a little bit more. So I'll take this one and let me show you. I think it needs a bit more noodle. That was a little, I didn't put enough in there. There we go. So now what I'll do, I'll show you the way that's typically done there is I'll put this here. I'll roll this up. I'll fold it over. I'll fold it over, straighten it up, move the shrimp out. Now I will take this, being the spring onion, and it stays on the outside, or the garlic chive, excuse me. It sticks on the outside, and I roll it up as such. Roll, aha. So now what I've got is I've got it sticking out. You go to any Vietnamese market, that's generally what it is when they're sticking on the outside. So that's essentially the salad roll. I know we're running out of time. Any questions?
Yes, we had a question about the soaking or the hydrating. What are the indicators that the wrapper is overhydrated?
Oh, that it's white, opaque. Great question. That it's kind of white and opaque, and that it doesn't, it won't stick to itself. You want it to be sticky, but notice they won't stick to each other, believe it or not, right? So you want it to be, transparent through there. And now this is served with, of course, a little bit of the sauces, right? One of that one. And I think for this one, I should probably have a little bit more style, and I'll take that, put it in here. Now, what's really important that most people don't realize about these salad rolls is you're not done. And what I mean by you're not done is I'm going to put this in here. Then here, I'll take the sauce, perhaps. I'll put a little bit of the peanuts on top of it that are crushed, if I saved a few of them, but of course I put them in there. So we'll put a little bit of crushed peanuts on top, a little bit of chili sauce, but this is an important part. You may serve these here, but when you eat these, it should be served with a table salad. This is really important, folks. I can't tell you why, how this makes all the difference. So on here, you're going to also have more lettuce. You might have some extra cucumbers. You might have some extra chives. You'll definitely have some extra mint or other herbs. Every time it's served, it should have a salad with it. Then when you eat them, you take another thing of lettuce. I kid you not. This is how they're meant to be eaten. This gets dropped on top of that. Then you put more of this. Then you put more of that. Then you fold it up, you dip it inside, and you eat it. Right? I'm not going to do that because it'll be a mess. So they're served inside salad roll, right? So there's salad on the inside, and there's salad on the outside. So you always want to serve it with something, with the table salad. That's often on the middle of the table, but that's how that goes. Questions?
We do have a couple of questions that I think would be great for Q&A. A couple of kind of traditions of how to eat them, things like that.
Sure. I can answer them.
Yeah. Or did you want?
I'm going to make. While we're talking, I'm going to make a fresh noodle because you got to see this because it's just freaking cool and I have it already. But yeah, I'm listening. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, I'd like to invite a few other people to ask their questions directly. So let's see. We had a question from Jerry. Jerry, are you able to unmute and ask your question directly?
I am. Are you talking about the, yeah, so the question that I had was, is it ever, the first roll, is it ever served with a dipping sauce or any kind of toppings or any kind of table salad? Or is that just served?
For the Malaysian one, you mean?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, it's actually never. With this style, there's no sauce. It's all inclusive. I've never, ever seen it served with something. Good question.
We also had a memory from Tam about
about
bean sprouts. Tam, did you want to share your thoughts? Sorry, caught you moving around the kitchen.
Xin Chao, how are you?
I think you're still.
Hi, Robert. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
You know, this is a lot of preparation. I have not made spring rolls forever, probably because of this reason.
Oh, I get you. You should see my kitchen. It's a freaking mess.
Yes. I'm sorry, what was the question, Kimberly?
You were sharing a memory about bean sprouts.
Oh, yeah. When you talk about how the ladies just pulled all the little bean sprout, and I say when I have a gathering in my family, that's all we do. All the girls and the ladies go into the kitchen. That's your job. You just sit there and pull them apart. And you're right. Everyone looked perfectly beautiful.
Right? Yeah, it looks nice that way. I like it. No, I get it. No, yeah. No, I missed that. Hey, check this out. Let me show you this, folks, because when was the last time you saw rice paper being made, right? So this is from Vietnam. I remember getting this at the Bintan market. So what I've got here is I've got water in the bottom and then this muslin cloth. This is made to do this, right? So I've got this ring. This comes on here. You got a lot of steam going. And in here, all I have is rice flour, 2 cups rice flour, 2 cups water, tablespoon of tapioca, splash of oil, and I've got my batter. That's it. It's how you make fresh rice noodle. And so then what I'll do is I have my stick, which is made to do this. This is made for nothing else but to make this dish, actually. So this comes off. I take, in this case, about 2 ounces of this liquid. It goes on top. And then I keep going round and round. Notice I'm pushing it to the outside until it starts to set like that. And then I shut it. And then we'll cook that for anywhere from 45 seconds to 1.5 minutes, depending how thick. It was my wife's birthday this past weekend, so I wanted to make her favorite noodle dish, and she wanted fresh rice noodles, so I made them thick. This one I'm making a little bit thicker if I was going to do a roll. So it takes about 1 minute, and then I take this here, which should be coated with a little bit of water. It's just made of bamboo, nothing more. And at this stage, you need a lot of steam. A lot of steam for it to hydrate completely. I've tried in my combi oven right here and it doesn't work very well. You think it would, the steam's not dense enough. just not dense enough. So I'm guessing we're at like 35, 40 seconds. Is that correct? I've got a plate over here.
Chef Robert, for the drunken noodles, would you do the same technique? Just make it thicker?
Yep, that's exactly, yep.
Cool.
So check this out, folks. Get ready. Ready? The big reveal. Notice it's going to be puffed up. Look at it. Look, can you see that? Yeah. Boom. So then I take this, I come under, and I turn, and I lift, and you get rice paper. Now, traditionally, and I literally brought this back from Vietnam for this reason, this comes on here and goes like that, and then they stick these out in the sun. And that's how you make rice paper. And traditionally, that's why that pattern is on there. Now, I've went there, most of them are, that pattern is made, sorry to blow the big, oh, wow, how romantic, BS. Most of them are machine made, and they've got a plastic pattern that imprints it on there. But that is how you would make fresh rice paper. Yeah, that's, and oh, check this out, one last thing. I'm gonna roll this up like that. You see, I just rolled it up. In Vietnam, I saw in Nha Trang, in central Vietnam, them making, they take ones like this and grill them or fill them up with ground pork. You can buy the rice noodle, then you roll it up and then you grill fresh rice noodle. I'll share this on LinkedIn this week. I'll make sure I put it on LinkedIn to see that video from Taste of Vietnam. It's incredible. But as you can see, this is just a noodle like you would expect to see. I mean, that's kind of it. If I can find the beginning, I can show you how that's how the noodles are made. So I know we're out of time. I know I've made an absolute mess, and I'm glad my wife's not home to chastise me about that. Questions?
Well, we'll stay on a little longer and maintain a Q&A session. Let's see, I'm going to unspotlight Chef so we can go back into gallery view. There's a lot of really great feedback. I'd love for folks to be able to talk to you directly. So we're going to switch to gallery view. If it doesn't switch for you, then please go do that so you're not staring at my face. I'd love to see everyone. This with the hoisin sauce. So.
Sorry, this with the hoisin coconut sauce. Oh my goodness.
Well, it's amazing.
So good. Now, if you cooked, how many people cooked? Show us what you got.
Hands. So
that's one thing.
Feel free to unmute yourselves. This is so cool.
We'd love to see what happened. Yeah, let's see what you're working with.
That was awesome, Chef. Thank you.
Red and Dave, that looks great.
I was a little scared to make this. I got to tell you, a Midwesterner. I'm out of my water here, but I loved it, and the flavors are dynamite. So thank you.
Pleasure. Did you make both or one of them? I told people make one, you're good.
I just made one. I couldn't keep up with you.
Which one?
The first one, the roll.
Yeah. Ever tasted that before, Chef? Oh,
no.
Nice. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Those crips are good.
Yeah.
Well done.
They turned out well.
Done.
So
awesome.
Very
Thanks
cool.
for joining, Chef. It's nice to see you, Dan.
Love it.
Brennan, Dave, I saw that you guys just showed yours. Can you show them again so everyone can see? That was really cool.
Sure, we made both. So they turned out, we haven't tried the spring rolls yet or the salad rolls, but we tried the first ones. And like Chef said, they were dynamite. Really, really good. So we're going to eat these next.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
See, I had promised Chef Anna an answer to her question, which I've now lost in the chat. Chef Anna, if you're
I got
still
it.
on.
I can ask it. Yeah.
Yes, please.
So what I was wondering, Chef, is so I love spring rolls. They're just so amazing. And so I've tried a lot of ways just to put like a lot of different stuff in them. And I love them too because they're like a good like veggie heavy lunch that doesn't make you go to sleep. But I cannot find a way to like eat them the next day. So is there any way to like help those from either getting so water laden or sticking together to eat like for lunch the next day or something?
Yeah, what you can do. Yeah, I mean, obviously the thing is, I guess we can talk about starch retrogradation since it's the RCA, right? And remember, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We're at home, quarantining at home. But what I was going to say is because of starch retrogradation, what's going to happen is, especially when they dry out a little bit, the spring rolls will start to get a little hard. But if they're when you buy them, look for the ones that make sure they have tapioca, and they will stay better. Then what I would suggest, if you want to eat it the next day, is I would take a piece of plastic wrap, drop it down, roll it up, and roll them up individually. Then the next day, ideally, you would steam it for like 4 seconds. I mean, like literally put it in a steamer and out, but you probably don't have a steamer if you're trying to make them ahead. So I have to leave them out at room temperature or put them in the sun for a few minutes till they soften up. Something barely warm. Yeah, don't worry about the sanitation, Kimberly.
I guess you could put like you could do a damp paper towel and like nuke it in the microwave for like a few seconds, right?
I would agree. Yeah. So they're okay the next day, but it's really about hydrating them a little bit more than you might think. And what you might want to do, I'm making this up on the fly, is I'd probably make them the same way, right? Roll it. And then after it's wrapped and you have the right thing taut and all that, well, then the next day, like a half hour before you eat them, maybe just kind of moisten them slightly on the outside and just let them plump up a little bit at room temperature, because they're not eaten cold. This is really important, folks. This was my biggest challenge when I was working on Southeast Asian flavors. It really bothered me that when I had to put it in print and it was going to be locked, because you say, oh, put it room temperature. Well, room temperature in Vietnam is an average between 80 and 90 degrees. So if I take a room temperature rice noodle in Vietnam, it's soft. If I take a room temperature rice noodle here in LA, it's 70. If I do it in some other wherever you live where it's cold, it's going to be really firm. So room temperature is subjective. And I would say room temperature for Southeast Asian recipes is a good 80. And so when these are made, you go into a market and you go into any Vietnamese market, most of them are pre-rolled. They're stacked up with the spring onion coming out of it, right? With the garlic chive coming out of it. They're stacked up in a pyramid or something, and they just serve them to you as it is. If they're rolling them, the meat, the shrimp, everything's sitting at room temperature, not in higher end restaurants. I'm talking about street food. But I don't want this thing of, in Vietnam, there's not a bunch of people eating on the streets. That's not all the food. There's really fast casual dining, normal restaurants. And what I've seen the last 20 years of traveling there, a lot more authentic, typical food that you see in the street in restaurant environment that's kept colder and those things. But still, if it's cold, refrigeration cold, it's not going to taste right. Long answer.
Awesome. I appreciate all of the extra information. Super interesting. Thank you.
Sure. Most welcome.
Hey,
Jeff,
Chef, how taboo is
Sarah
it
Lynn.
sauces? Sorry.
What's that?
How taboo is it to mix the sauces with different rolls in different dishes?
It's okay. Whatever. I mean, hey, the coconut hoisin sauce, right, is fine to do with the popiat because that's essentially what it is. And a little lemongrass would be delicious. Even the liquidy nook chum, I think that would be okay. I think that would be fine. But I don't know, when you made them, you don't need seasoning because the hoisin and plum sauce is so delicious. There's no reason to really season them more. But yeah, and also, I mean, you can make all sorts of different dressings. Come on. In Central Vietnam, there's something called nem nung, and Tam, you can correct my pronunciation, but nem is a fermented often or a pork sausage of a sort, and nung means grilled. So they actually grill the pork, they fry an extra rice paper, and they put it inside crispy or a spring roll wrapper. And for that one, it's served with a chili rice ground pork sauce that I have the recipe if you want it. I figured it out for a pork summit a couple of years ago. It's so good. And you can't find it in English. The recipe just isn't available in a good one, at least. Someone else had a question.
Sarah Lynn related to, I think, the garlic chive.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just wondering, why is it made with the chive sticking out of the roll? Is that just tradition, or is there like another reason behind it? Yeah,
that's a good question. From my perspective, and then Tam can chime in. She's Vietnamese and knows her food. I think it's purely aesthetics. Because as I said, every market you walk into, the person doing the goi kun, doing this one salad roll, right? It's always made ahead and stacked up. And so you have this kind of like pyramid with these sticks coming out, and the beautiful shrimp are all facing the outside of the pyramid, you know, and all that, Zerilyn. So it's aesthetics from my point of view. I don't think there's any other reason it sticks out like that. Tam, anything to add from Vietnamese culture? I don't, represents a firecracker for the Lunar New Year. Yeah, that's it. Well, that would actually, I could have said that and you would have believed me. Next time I'll say that.
Thank you.
Of course. I forgot I had this whiskey.
Other questions from the audience?
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
I see Frank was showing off his. Hang on, Frank, let me get you spotlighted.
Yeah, I want to see everyone's food. Frank, hey, what's up, buddy? I haven't seen you for ages. It's nice to see you, Frank. Up
I think
higher,
you're
let's
muted,
see.
Chef.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, those look great.
Nice roll job. Yeah, you're on mute, but that's well rolled. Awesome.
There, how's that?
Good.
You hear me now?
That's really nice. Did you taste them?
Not yet. I tasted the
bite.
fillings and the sauces, but Nancy's hungry, so I need to go.
Yeah.
But
well,
great information. Thank you very much. The sauces, the flavors are great, but great information.
Frank,
So,
it's a pleasure to see you. I'm sorry we're not having
too.
dinner with you, Nancy and I, like we used to at the RCA. You take care.
yes, we look forward to going again sometime. It's soon.
Yes. Ooh. Yes.
Anyway,
I
need to
nice
run.
To see you,
Thank
Frank.
you very much.
Be well. Gerald,
You too.
Geraldine, look at that. Wow. Those are awesome. The shrimp were placed perfectly. You did them both. Well done.
First time ever to cook Asian.
Aw.
I'm very influenced by neighbors that we have. So I actually got rice cakes from my neighbor. The rice
Paper.
She actually gave it to me. So she's like, no, you could use these. You don't have to buy them. But they're smaller, but
Yeah.
nice.
And as you can see, it's not that difficult. It's just knowing what to do. I mean, it's just like anything, right? Unfamiliar makes you feel uncomfortable, and that's part of life.
But I also think the flavors is important to know. Like I would have never, even though I've eaten them, I don't think I would have ever boiled the pork that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We don't, I've never,
Sure.
And it was very good. And put the shrimp the way it's delicious. I had to have one. It was so good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today. That's awesome. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hey,
Pleasure.
can everyone hear me?
Yes, Jeff.
Yes.
I just wanna raise a glass to Jerry, who is our official IFT liaison.
Oh.
So, she's been our big supporter in all of our programs. Thank you, Jerry. Good to see you again.
You are very, very welcome. Very welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Our sister organization is what I would like to say.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, also, before I forget, I want to thank Lee Kum Kee for sponsoring. I reached out to him. We decided to do this class in all candor. I mean, I think this isn't any confidential stuff. And I reached out to him and said, hey, RCA could use some help, sponsorship of the class. Are you in? And they said yes. So we were doing the class regardless. And this were the recipes I already did. And I started making the list. I'm like, wow, I'm using like 5 of their sauces. And so thank you to Lee Kum Kee. And I think there may be even someone on the call for sponsoring this. You've been an amazing partner and continue to be. And so thanks for sponsoring.
Thank you, Lee
Yeah,
Kum Kee.
one more spotlight to share. Adam, if you're ready to be spotlighted, giving you a warning because I know you're.
I'm halfway through eating one.
Oh, look at all the people. Carl's here. Sandy's here. Hey, Grace.
All right.
Oh,
That one looks good.
well done.
All right. The sauce turned out all right. These ones are a little bit more sad.
What's sad about them? What's wrong with it?
Just the crepes were kind of gummy, and I only had one that didn't tear. So
one thing you might want to think about with that is what I have found is it's okay to cook it more than you would think.
Mm.
Right? Like you cook
That's a
it and
big
it's, oh,
deal.
it's drying on the bottom. But even if it's kind of dry,
Yeah.
when you move it over here, they get supple again.
Mm. Okay.
So you might want to try that again one time and to do that. And of course, think of all the cool fillings you can put in there with that jicama that has the ground bean savoriness. I mean, why not put some stir fried shrimp? Why not put, I mean, it's food, right? This is, remember folks, this is one traditional version. It's Nonya from the Peranakan culture. So the Chinese brought it from Fujian, brought it into Penang. In Penang, and there's that 10-minute video I posted online. You should check this research we did. And then it fractioned off to 3 versions. Now, when they make it, they would traditionally take a dough, rub it on a plancha, right, on a griddle, pull it off, and it leaves a film. Then they pull that film off, but that's really difficult to make. Trust me, you'll see me in the video. It's very difficult. So I think because Peranakan cuisine is a home-cooked cuisine, they changed the wrapper, because anyone can do this, but no one can do the other one. And then they changed the fillings to incorporate some of the local ingredients. And then there's an Indian version, Indian Malay, which has a sweet potato sauce on top of it. And then there's another Chinese version. I'll send you the recipes if you want. Email me at robert@chefdanhai.com, and I'll be glad to share all the recipes with you. I mean, why not? It's recipes.
We have a question from Chef Lauren. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask directly?
Let's see your food, Lauren. Come on.
Lauren.
Well,
see, okay, which kind of goes with my question. My question is, what would you use instead of jicama if you couldn't find it? I bought jicama, but it was bad in the center. From the grocery store.
Okay.
So,
what would I use if I didn't have jicama? I would probably use, I mean, daikon's strong in taste, so that would concern me, but I think as far as texture, it would be close to it. I think turnip might work, right? Right? I mean, you're a chef, right? Don't you think turnip might? I didn't think about it till just now. I think turnip, rutabaga would be really yummy. Just don't put the sugar. Oh my goodness, rutabaga would be delicious. Or
I'm glad I was able to give you some ideas.
And what about parsnips? Yum, right?
Or, well, yeah, I love parsnips.
I love so good.
Oh, and parsnips, no sugar.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah, jicama is inconsistent. It's almost as bad. There you are. It's almost as bad as when I was doing the book. When I was doing fresh coconuts, I had to buy 3 coconuts to get 1. 2 would be bad at every single supermarket. It was awful. So yeah, jicama is inconsistent. I went to a Latin market close by because they go through it quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's 30 cents a pound instead of $1.90 at Ralph's.
Right.
Just saying.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for joining, Lauren. It's great to see you, my friend.
Sure.
Wow. Thank you so mumuch, Chef Robert. This was incredible. I mean, can you think of a better way to celebrate RCA's 25th anniversary?
No, I feel so fortunate. I mean, look at the people on the call here, you know, some of my best friends in life, you know, and have come through the RCA and for events like this. So, yeah, thanks for joining, everyone. It's awesome to see some new friends, hopefully some old friends, and some clients and partners. And again, I sign off with saying thank you to Lee Key. Thank you for the RCA for this venue. Jeff, for reaching out to me and encouraging me to do this. And I look forward to next month to take the class. And remember, for $25, buy it, give it to someone else. That's okay, right? Gift it. What a great gift.
Great idea.
You have the link.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Or
Chef
pay
Robert.
$35. Most welcome, Kimberly. Thank you for moderating.
There you go. Yeah, we just have one more class left to this series before going into RCA Plus conference. It's the Delicious Heart Healthy Treats for Your Valentine. And that is hosted by chefs Junie Lai and Tom Griffiths. That's going to be Thursday, February 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you get signed up for that. We have plenty of room for folks. That's the nice thing, is we're not restricted by a room capacity, or you're not stuck in the back where you can't see. So please do sign up for the class, share the link with your friends, give it as a gift for Valentine's Day. Just saying.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I put the links to some of the RCA swag and ways that you can donate directly to RCA for the 25th anniversary. And again, thank you, Chef Robert, for donating your time, and to Lee Key for sponsoring this, Chef Jeffrey for coming up with this idea and then roping us all into it. And thank you all for spending your afternoon and evening with us.
Right. Hey, last thing, if I can share one other thing, Kimberly, is folks, I've started a scholarship for who wants to be a culinologist. It's on the RCA website. So if you know some young culinarians that are in, or food scientists, so anyone that's in a accredited, a program that wants to be is a food scientist or culinary, they just have to tell us why they want to be a culinologist, and I'll pay for their first year of RCA membership. Top 10 win to come to RCA Plus, and then the top 3 will do a People's Choice Award at the conference, and I'm going to award $1,000, $750, and $500 to these students to do whatever they want for their education. So please share the word, go to the website, and tell everyone about the RCA, because we're lucky to be members, and thank you for being engaged.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks to Chef Robert, who did, as always, a spectacular job. Thanks to everyone for attending and enjoying this incredible show. And of course, Gong Hai Fat Choi. Happy
Gong Si Fat Choi.
Gong Hei Fat Choi.
Good New Year. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New
Take care, Danny. I hear your voice. I know that
Okay,
voice.
good. Yes. The third one, you reminds me, I will need to make the rice noodle at home.
There we go.
It's a very good. Yes.
Awesome. Take care, everyone. Have a great day and upcoming weekend. I'll see you online.